guys, thank you so much for having me tonight. I'm very honored and excited to be here and especially to share my vegan journey with everybody. I made a few notes because otherwise I would speak for days about this because I'm very passionate about it. And all of that over the past 20 years that I've been doing, it's not just something that I did, but it's something that became part of who I am. So as a child, as a carnivore, I always loved animals, but I was like most people who classified animals into two different groups. So one animals into the group of friends and others as I saw as food. And so there were animals that we would share our lives with, and they were sitting on the couch while we were watching TV. Others we had for dinner on the plate. And it always felt a little bit strange to me to eat animals. I don't know why. It was always somewhere in the back of my mind that there's something not right about it. So one evening I asked my mom, and I remember very well, we were eating chicken for dinner. I asked my mom, so where does this meat come from? And I always thought that it's just like an animal who died of a natural cause, and we would kind of prepare it in a way to make it edible and delicious. And that didn't sound too good to me. But then she said that we raise animals and we kill them for food. We slaughter them so that we can eat them. Well, that didn't sound any better to me. So having like that knowledge of that animals have to die so that I can have a meal made me become a vegetarian. So I thought I'm not gonna eat any animals anymore, so I was a vegetarian. The only thing that was a little bit annoying was every time when I went to see a doctor for, just a checkup, the doctor would be very worried about my diet. And he always said, he even called my mom and said, well, Fabienne, she needs to eat some meat because this is very unhealthy for her. She, especially in like teenagers in their like puberty, they need to have meat and iron and all of that stuff. So, and then, well, I went on and on with my vegetarianism because I didn't want animals to die for my food. The other thing was family reunions. Every time when I went to a family reunion, people were like, oh, is she still vegetarian? Is she still not eating meat? Like everybody thought it was just a phase. So 10 years go by, and I thought at some point that it's not enough to not eat meat, but I also wanted to become an activist. I wanted to change the world. I wanted to become an animal rights activist. So I researched a little bit, and I went to a protest in Germany, and it was against a circus with elephants and stuff. So I went there, and I was very proud of myself being a vegetarian, and I tried to convert the people who were organizing the protest into becoming a vegetarian. I had no idea what I was doing. So I said, are you guys vegetarian too? And they were not very nice to me in the first moment. They said, no, vegetarians are murderers. And I was very confused. I was like, well, I'm not eating meat, so no animal has to die for me. Why? Can you explain what you're saying here? And they pretty much explained to me that cows don't just give milk, that they're not producing milk automatically, but they have to be pregnant and have a calf and in order to give milk. So I didn't know that because we never covered that in biology, so nobody ever told me that. The other thing was that I was told that for eggs, that the male chicken are completely worthless in the egg industry and that they are killed, like billions of them every day worldwide. So all of that, I was like, okay, I will do some research on that. I didn't know. I never heard of that before. So I went home completely confused, and I ended up watching a documentary called Earthlings, and it's made by Sean Monson, and I can highly recommend it. Most of you have probably seen it before, but if you haven't seen it, definitely watch it. It's mind-blowing, and it's really it opened my eyes. Like it was really that was the moment where I said, okay, I'm going vegan now, and I had no idea how to do it, and I didn't know any other vegan in the world. So, but I made my decision that now that I have all that knowledge, there's no excuse to not be vegan. So there I was becoming a vegan, and I had no idea how. So I felt really like the only vegan in the world, living in a small town in Luxembourg. I didn't know anybody who was not eating meat, so I did a little bit more research and found an animal rights group. And I thought, okay, I'm going to find some vegan friends, I'm going to be part of the animal rights movement, and I'm going to go to some protests and stuff like that. So, and it went well for a little while, but then at some point they figured out that I was still driving a car with leather interior, and they kicked me out of their group. So there I was completely depressed. I had like the only vegans I knew, they didn't want me to be part of their group. So I could have said, okay, this is enough, like I'm giving up, like it's too much. But instead of doing that, I decided to found my own animal rights group called Save Animals, and it was like the second animal rights group in Luxembourg. And we are also organizing the International Animal Rights Conference every year, and it's taking place this year for the 8th time in Luxembourg, and it brings people from all over the world together. So it's like a couple of hundreds of people come there. We have speakers from every continent, from over 50 countries who come together every year. And it's really amazing to see that you're not alone. You are really, it's a movement, and there are many people from Africa and India and all the different places who come together and who have the same interest and goal in their life. So now that I live here in California, I am also part of a rescue group here in Woodland Hills. It's called AGWC Rockin Rescue. We save dogs and cats, like hundreds of them every year, who would otherwise be euthanized at the city shelters. So that's a really big thing that I had to learn, because in Europe I was not familiar. I don't know if there's this high kill rate at city shelters than it is here, but it's really important to not shop for animals. Like there's so many amazing dogs and cats who are looking for a home, and so please adopt if you want to have a companion. So having that said, it takes a lot of effort to save one animal. Like if you go, for example, a dog, you go to the city shelter, you try to find him a home, and you care a lot about that animal. With a vegan diet, I learned that you can save 200 animals every year. And even though sometimes it seems to be hard to, not eat animal products, to be completely vegan at all times, but if you can save 200 animals every year, that seems pretty easy to me, to just leave them off your plate. And so that's what I've been doing so far. One thing that I find is very important, and that was very important to me, is ask yourself why you want to be vegan. I think if you have, obviously you have the biggest influence and power with your money. It's sad, but it's true. So if you, every time you buy a non-vegan product, you create a demand for suffering for non-vegan products, and and every time when you buy a vegan product and an ethical product, you create demand for those. And so I think that is very important. And also some people, they don't care about animals, they care more about the environment. So whatever is your motivation, whatever the reason is why you want to be vegan, do your research and find out what is really going on in that industry, whether it is, for environmental reasons and stuff like that. A few books and documentaries that were very helpful to me in my journey lately was, for example, Skinny Bitch and Eating Animals, documentaries like Earthlings and Unity and What the Health. Those are all very important things to watch and to read and to get the knowledge and to see that there are others who struggle with the same things as you do. And it's very, it's my lecture at night when I go to sleep. Like I read Skinny Bitch and Eating Animals. One thing that is also, I mean, part of that is if you have a strong enough why, the how will always take care of itself. Like if you are motivated and you want to stay on track, and you know, surround yourself with people who think the same way as you think. I mean, comparing it to like this, for example, to alcoholics, like you cannot be like a sober person if you go to a bar every night and you are only surrounded by people who drink alcohol every day. And same with veganism. Like if you are a vegan or you want to be a vegan and then you go to a steakhouse every day because you only have friends who go to steakhouse, then it's really hard. But there are so many people who think the way you think, and I think that's very important to surround yourself with people who think the same way. For me, I mean, I think nothing in life is certain, but for me, I definitely know that for the rest of my life, I will be a vegan because I just feel that it's the right thing to do, not only for the animals, for the planet, but also for our own health, for my own health. And so, yeah. That was my vegan journey so far. I mean, I could go on and on into details, but I don't want it to be boring. So if anybody has questions or any input, feel free to ask your questions. That's it.